Good stuff. Ron, you look like a geek.
Thank you so much.
That's a compliment. It says geek right here, too.
All right.
And that's good because, you know, like I said, we're talking about geeky stuff, so we want to make sure that we're dressing the part.
Ron, you'll be glad to know I'm actually taking this to a client presentation in a few minutes, both to show the work that I've been involved in, but this is a great piece to give to clients since while it was aimed at independent agents, it's any small business can use the stuff we did here.
Absolutely. That's a great idea, Steve.
All right, so we'll get us started off by making sure we introduce you both. I'm joined on the Massagent Now podcast today by Ron Berg, who's the executive director at the Agents Council on Technology, as well as Steve Aronson, who is a local Massachusetts independent agent at Aronson Insurance in Needham, and he serves on the ACT Council as well as the security issues chair. Is that the right title, Steve?
I think so. Sounds good to me.
Sounds good. All right. So recently, ACT published two guides about security issues, a pocket guide and a summary guide, and that was the catalyst to bring these two together. And so we're going to talk about security issues for the next 20 minutes or so. Any resources that we have in the podcast will be linked to on the podcast webpage. If you go to massagent.com and type podcast into the search bar, you will get that. You'll get the page with all the podcasts in it, and you'll be able to see all the links to the notes. So I want to know about the issues, the pocket guides. I want to know about the guides, but the first thing I want to know is how big of a deal is security issues for independent agents. They're small businesses, sometimes very small businesses, and sometimes the feeling is that data security doesn't really apply to them. It applies to Target and Home Depot and TJX and big boys. What's the deal here? Tell me if this applies or not.
Melissa, for me, as one of those smaller business owners you just described, at the end of the day, all I've got is my reputation. My clients have to trust me. They trust me to know about insurance and advise them correctly, but they also have to trust that the information that they share with me is private. It's secure. I'm asking them to share everything about their life and their business. If they can't trust me, they won't do business with me. So if we should be sloppy, if we should be unfortunate, and sometimes you've got good practices in place, but bad things can happen, at the end of the day, if my reputation is shot because it shows up in either my local newspaper, on the 11 o'clock news, in the Boston Globe, wherever it shows up, that Aronson Insurance was hacked, my reputation's gone, my clients will go elsewhere, I'm out of business. Is that enough of a reason to pay attention?
It feels like it to me. It feels like it to me for sure. Can I ask an add-on question as to that? What exactly is it that hackers are looking for, or what is it that they're looking for when they come into a small business like that? It can't just be credit card data. What is it they're looking for?
Now, there are multiple groups of hackers, and Ron will chime in here and help me with this, but certainly there are the folks who are hacking in looking for credit cards and bank account numbers. And whether they be, quote, hacking, which is a word I won't try to define, but let's make it as broad as possible. Maybe it's that phishing website that one of my account managers sees and they click on it and they provide some information about the agency. Just by clicking on it, they've probably opened up some kind of connectivity between my server and or just that person's desktop PC and that bad guy. And so whether the bad guy is looking to steal financial information, whether they're looking to steal personal information about my clients, which might be their account numbers, might be their driver's license number, which certainly we have being in the auto insurance business. Maybe it's information about all of our clients' homeowners policies, who's got huge jewelry schedules, who's in what business. There's a lot of private information that could be taken about my clients. We've got copies of leases. We've got copies of buy-sell agreements. There's a lot of private, both personal and business private information that we need to have about our clients, that we have attached to our files or our emails. They could be on our servers. And by the way, all of those are probably also on my iPhone, because my iPhone has all my emails on it. So every time we talk about data security, I've got to be thinking about what's on my phone as well. The bad guys are looking to steal the information, and I guess the most recent Ashley Madison case suggests that sometimes it's about ransom. Those guys apparently didn't want to release all that juicy information, or at least they say they didn't. They wanted to be paid off. So having all this private information about my clients, I might get an email or a phone call assuring me that they won't release all this information if I pay whatever huge ransom might be. Ron, what else would you add about the hackers, what they'd be looking for in agencies?
Well, Steve, you laid a great groundwork, and Melissa, to your first point, it truly is not just the big boys. It's not the big box stores, the suppliers, your retailers, not even just the big, huge brokers in our industry, but it is, and we're seeing evidence in some of the tools that we can talk about or what we have in our security issues summary guide. It is the small guys. And to Steve's point, a lot of it is hacking. That's a very, very broad term to use, as Steve alluded to. They're looking for that information in any way they can get in. It can be direct hacking. It can be through phishing, as Steve said. It can be through social engineering via phone call. It can be through the improper storage or destruction of your agency materials. What this sounds like it's coming to, if you've been following this, is an agency's security is only as good as the weakest link. So an agent can have a great understanding of data breaches, have a security policy in place, which you should have and are required to have in many cases, have great security around your firewall, have employ good password practices, but it can come down to just that one employee that clicks on the link that Steve was talking about inadvertently, or gets pulled in by something that's tantalizing that opens that firewall and creates that breach. So there's a myriad of opportunities for opening your doors physically and electronically to those with bad intent.
And we know of a couple of cases where agencies were breached by the CryptoLocker virus and asked to pay ransom to get back their files, to get back their data. So I did want to make that point. I mean, you don't necessarily have to sell me on the fact that security is an issue, but I do think for a lot of people, they think, oh, we're too small to be a target, and I just don't think that is, obviously that's not the case. Ron, since we're on you right now, maybe you can talk a little bit about what ACT is and what the security guides were created for. Great.
Yeah, absolutely. So ACT, Melissa and everyone that's watching this, is the Agents Council for Technology. So we are a program within the Big I, the Independent Insurance Agents and Brokers of America. ACT's sole purpose or highest mission is to provide improved technology workflow and business processes for agents. What does that mean? It can come in the form of best practices documents on anything from real-time to downloads to technology agreements, and in this case, a guide to security issues planning and processes in your agency. So ACT works as a coordinator with dedicated representatives from carriers, from agents and brokers, from technology vendors, and user groups and associations. And we bring all of those volunteers to focus in on critical technology aspects such as security issues, and then generate either best practices, webinars, white papers, training. We meet twice or 3 times per year in person to kind of go through some of these things and bring in speakers. So what ACT did in this case, under Steve's leadership, Steve is a volunteer agent that has is also on our steering committee, but has taken on chairing a focused work group on security issues. So we brought all of those resources together, said, what are the top things that agents need to focus on in their agencies, but are so overwhelmed by the width and breadth of security and cyber that they don't know how to start. So we created, through all of this collaboration, a larger 8-page security issues reference guide that goes through all of the top 15 issues, whether it's data breach, cyber risk, document retention and destruction, the proper use of those things, passwords, and created a comprehensive summary guide with links to the best resources, and then created a 1-page pocket guide. And Steve has an example of this physically with him that agents can use to either start planning or extend their actual plan. And Steve has it up now.
It's a nice little trifold. It's easy, and it's easy to read. And I will, like I said, I will link to that. Make sure that everyone has it. I know MAIA has sent it out in its newsletter already, but we'll make sure that everyone has can get to that easily. I will also link to the longer summary guide as well. Steve, did you have anything to add on that?
Sure, Melissa. Ron, thanks. That was a great intro to the project, and I'm thrilled that the project, with your help and certainly from the Big I, getting this actually published in a very professional format. But at the end of the day, it's all about getting easy to digest small bits of information to small and medium-sized agencies so we can protect ourselves from our own stupidity, from passwords of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. I think it's the most popular password in the world. You shouldn't use it. Your password needs to be changed. I know it's a pain in the butt, but you got to change your password every 60 days. Our agency has experienced some turnover. Every agency has turnover. When Joe CSR leaves the agency, goes home to his PC, and uses all the IDs and passwords that he has, both to get back into the agency's management system remotely, to sign on to different insurance carrier websites, and be stealing your business, unfortunately happens. So password management is potentially one of the top 3 for me as I think about what do I need to do to be smarter than I was yesterday. While the hackers may not be thinking about breaking into my agency from China or Russia or wherever they are, it's the ex-employee, or frankly, it's the renegade employee that I don't know is planning on leaving, who is taking down all of this information and is going to be taking it out the door with them when they go. I don't even know they're thinking about going. I've got to make sure that I'm changing passwords on a regular basis, and the moment they walk out the door, somebody at the agency needs to be changing all of their passwords to make sure they can't break in, to which I would put in a plug for the major system vendors who, through Transact Now and Transformation Station, mean my staff no longer knows their Hartford ID and password. They simply know they need to go to my management system, and through the management system authentication, now they get to the insurance carriers. So when Sam leaves on Friday afternoon, we shut down their management system ID and password, and they no longer have access to any insurance carrier website. Simple, effective, and efficient. The next step that everyone will start to see is they'll start to hear about ID Federation, another project looking to do away with the difficulty and really arduous task of managing passwords. Passwords will be going away, but until they do, you got to pay attention.
That's a really good point. Passwords are probably the #1 complained about issue in all of, I think, cubicles everywhere. But but having a real plan and a real ability to wade through that, especially if you have multiple employees, especially when someone leaves. I know at the association, our data security plan actually has a protocol for what happens when an employee leaves. And if you guys know the association, we don't turn over staff hardly ever here. We have employees for 40 years, but we still have the protocol because anything can happen. So one of the things I wanted to know is, in Massachusetts, because we have been so sensitive to data privacy because of the different laws that have been passed, and they were passed in a little bit earlier than laws in other states. So I've noticed in talking to other associations that we're a little more sensitive to this in Mass. If you're an agency and you feel like you're in compliance with the Mass data laws and you're in compliance with HIPAA, is that enough?
Well, the challenge, Melissa, that I give both other agents who ask, but frankly, because of the work I've done here, and many other agents are really quite familiar with it as well, my risk management role with my clients is to challenge folks with the question. If you do end up with a breach, if there is a hack, and you're sitting on the witness stand being hammered by plaintiff's counsel, can you, in all good conscience, defend that you did all of the right things and this particular hack was just so strong, so powerful? As we know, no one is perfect, but can you defend the things that you did? Are they going to find things that you as a small business owner could reasonably have done? And if you can't answer yes, then you need to clean up your act so that you can say yes to plaintiff's counsel. Yes, I did what I should have done. I'm in compliance with the Massachusetts law 201 CMR 17. Sorry for the geek speak, but that's the law that we are subject to. I do have a plan in place. I do review it with my staff on at least an annual basis. We do train all new employees on these practices. Can I say to the judge and jury, yes, I've done what I was supposed to do. I'm feeling better about it. I'm still not feeling great, but at least I've done what I was supposed to do, and that's a reasonable standard to be held to, certainly in Massachusetts.
Mm-hmm. Ron, did you have any input on that as well?
That was, again, what laid out really well, and it's shooting for the highest bar. Now, you mentioned, Melissa, that Massachusetts has some of the most stringent requirements and laws around security and cyber. So what we do within the ACT Security Work Group is encourage agents to look at what the highest bar is for security. There's a resource in our security issues summary guide that points to a website called Mintzlevin, M-I-N-T-Z-L-E-V-I-N. Now, we're speaking just to Massachusetts agents, but I'm betting there are Massachusetts agents that also sell in other states, so you need to be aware of what the requirements are for each of the states that you sell in. Granted, Massachusetts may well be the highest or the most stringent laws of any that they're working for, but they still need to keep those in mind. So resources like Mintzlevin, which is in the Security Issues Summary Guide, is something that agents can go to and by state understand what the requirements are, if there's a breach, what that entails, if there are any reporting requirements to customers, and what penalties and fines might well be if action is not taken in a timely manner. So that's one part about it, but really it's, and I'm going back to this again, it's having a comprehensive security plan for your agency. Now, Melissa, you talked about what you do at the association when in the terms of passwords, and you also said nobody ever leaves. Most of them are there for 40 years. Well, you can't control who may not be able to, God forbid, come to work for an extended period of time due to an illness or an injury, and you have to bring somebody else in, or who may not come back. Those are those unforeseen circumstances that you can plan for, and you have to have a very well thought out and consistently updated security plan. And ACT does have resources, not to keep raising the flag on ACT, but we do have security planning resources on our website.
I know we're up against a little bit of a time limit, so we only have a couple minutes left. So one of the things I want to know is if an agency hasn't given this a huge amount of thought, or they haven't gone back and updated their security plan in a couple of years since this was a really big hot topic a couple of years ago in Mass, what's the first thing they should be doing today? If they stop listening to this, what's the first thing an agency should go and do today?
From my standpoint, if you've got your data security plan in place and you've trained your staff, download the guide, actually read it, click on some of the links, excuse me, and look at some of the low-hanging fruit. What are the easy things we can do? Do you have a secure email application? Or are you sending out emails with people's driver's license numbers and even credit card numbers on them? You can't do it, folks. So following the guide, it was written for the small business owner. It's easy to understand. There are great resources behind it. That's clearly, Melissa, the first thing that I would do. And then as you want to take it deeper, read more about the resources, pay a little bit more attention, and then frankly on the backside, share the information that you've learned with your business clients.
Right.
You will end up not only have a better agency yourself, but I think your business clients will appreciate the fact that you're sharing this new expertise with them because they need to be paying attention to it as well.
So what I would add to that, Melissa, is, you'd asked for what are the top things. Steve did a great job from detailing the outset of what we should be doing. Keep in mind, and I've said this before, I'll harp on it again, your chain is only as strong as its weakest link. So it's a good education plan and ongoing education for all of your staff. We don't get a choice, whether it's in our personal lives or our businesses, about having gaining knowledge and putting in place security plans, whether it's in our personal life or our business. So incumbent upon us as business owners then is to ensure our entire staff is educated and we have continuing education around that. So I'd say that's an important component as well.
Great.
All right. Well, I know that we could probably talk about this for hours and hours and hours, but unfortunately we don't have time for that, and people listening unfortunately don't have time for that. So what I'm going to do is thank you both for joining me, and I'm going to create a list of resources that we talked about here, including both the guides, including the link to ACT, the ACT website, and encourage our members obviously to keep on one, educating their staff and themselves about these issues to protect their businesses, and two, to reach out and ask the questions that they need answered when they either reach stumbling blocks or not, and whether that's reaching out to someone here at the association or to someone like Steve or to someone like Ron at IAABA. I think that's the best way to go at this point.
Yes, it is.
Absolutely.
I appreciate the opportunity to share this. It's been a great project. I want to thank all the members of the committee under Ron's leadership, and we've had a really good time putting it together. But at the end of the day, it will only have been a rewarding project if people use it. So I hope folks download the guide, make good use of it, and then take it out to your clients and share it with them as well.
Awesome. Thank you, Steve. Any parting words, Ron?
Can't say it any better than that. Use the resources. ACT is a free resource for Big I independent agents.
Great.
So get out there and check out the guide. Let me know if you've got any questions on it.
Great.
Awesome. Well, thanks to you both, and I really, really, truly appreciate your time today. I know you're both very busy, and I hope everybody out there listening enjoyed or watching enjoyed the podcast, and we'll get you next time with another hot topic here in Massachusetts insurance.